LeBron James to the Warriors couldn't happen. Or could it? Yes, let's talk about LeBron James for a second, because he is someone who has gotten a lot of debate started for a variety of reasons. He's no doubt one of the best to ever play in the NBA. There's literally no point in debating that, given his numbers and longevity. And he did live up to his chosen one title eventually. But his peaks and valleys have been well known, as well as his personality issues in regards to his teammates and coaches. So why is it that now he's saying he wants to go and play with the Golden State Warriors? LeBron and the Warriors. Los Angeles Lakers star LeBron James is making headlines once again after praising his longtime rivals, the Golden State Warriors. In a trailer for an upcoming episode of The Shop, James, who faced the Warriors 4 straight times in the NBA Finals as a member of the Cleveland Cavaliers, said he would pick Golden State when asked which remaining playoff team he would join. "I would love to get into an effing match with Draymond Green," James said in the trailer for the episode. Green, 32, received the second highest numbers of technical fouls this season with 18, just one less than Atlanta Hawks star Trae Young. "I love when everybody cusses me out," James, a 4-time NBA champion, said. The Warriors are currently facing the Boston Celtics in the 2022 NBA Finals, and while they are down 2-1, they're still very much in the series. Steph Curry. James's response comes just a few months after a similar comment he made on The Shop went viral after he discussed who he would most like to play with on a team. His first answer, somewhat unsurprisingly, was his 17-year-old son, Bronny James, who hopes to make it to the NBA in the next few years. But a few moments later, James revealed he'd like to also play with Warriors star Stephen Curry if given a chance. "Steph Curry is one that I would want to play with for sure in today's game," James said during the March episode. "I love everything about that guy," he continued. "Lethal. Steph, when he get out of his car, you better guard him right from the moment he pulls up to the arena. Soon as he gets out of his car, you better guard his ass." Curry politely brushed off the NBA legend's idea when San Francisco radio station 95.7 The Game asked about it in April. "He got his wish," Curry said while laughing, reminding the host that he's teamed up with James in the past during NBA All-Star games. "He was the captain. He picked me the last 2 All-Star games. I don't know if that suffices, but I'm good right now." Whenever you get the interest or curiosity of what it would be like to play with arguably an MVP caliber dude like he is, greatest of all time, cool, he continued. "That's amazing. We can all live in that fantasy world." And that might be a key thing to note here. This is very much a fantasy for LeBron James. Whether it comes true or not is very much not up to him in this case. How a trade could work. No team would actually want to trade LeBron James, of course. In fact, it would be the first trade of his history in the league, despite how many teams he's been on. However, if King James is unwilling to agree to a contract extension during the offseason, the Los Angeles Lakers need to have all options on the table. The priority would shift to finding an intriguing return, regardless of whether the Lakers send him within the Western Conference in the process to do it. That may even need to be the case if an extension does get done, considering stars have the ability to ask out at any point in this current era. A team like the Golden State Warriors have some options to put in a trade package in exchange for a star with Andrew Wiggins, revamping his trade value. He'd serve as the centerpiece of any deal from an appeal standpoint and also in terms of salary matching. There would need to be extra salary included, and James Wiseman would be the simplest option to do so. He'd also bring another young player for the Lakers to build around going forward. Adding in a few first-round picks and Moses Moody would add more appeal for the Lakers to give consideration to this idea. Again, a trade involving James would be in a circumstance where it's clear his future is not in Los Angeles, which, based on the lack of movement at the trade deadline and how the Lakers ended up a sub-500 team by the time the regular season ended, it's very possible that his future is out of LA, despite all the hype of him coming onto the team just a few years ago. Bringing in a ringer. A key thing that can't be ignored here is that the Warriors have never been above bringing in a ringer to get the job done. When they were just Curry, Thompson, Green, and Kerr, they won a title, and then had the winningest record in the regular season. But they lost to LeBron in the finals despite having a 3-1 lead. That really stuck in their craw. So what'd they do? They went and signed free agent Kevin Durant, fresh off his tenure with Oklahoma City Thunder and a man desperate to get a ring. Steve Kerr said to him they could get a ring on their own, but with him, they'd get multiple. They were right. They went to 3 straight NBA Finals with Durant as the ringer. He won Finals MVP twice, and the only reason they didn't win that 3rd straight Finals was because of injuries to Durant and Klay Thompson. But if you're thinking, well, there's a difference there, you'd be right. They didn't trade to get Durant, they just straight up signed him. Not unlike what LeBron has done with the Heat, Cleveland the 2nd time, and the Lakers. They'd have to trade for LeBron, but the vision of this is the same. It's about getting the people needed to win now versus win eventually. And should the Warriors come up short in the NBA Finals they're still fighting in, they might have the desire to bet the farm, if you will, and get LeBron, to get back to their dynasty one last time, or more, in order to cement themselves as one of the greatest teams ever. Having LeBron with his rival of Steph, of whom has beaten LeBron 3 times in the finals and even swept him in the finals, along with the sharpshooter in Klay Thompson and the defensive presence of Green, is scary for just about every team to think about. Steve Kerr. The irony here is that this trade could very well depend in regards to it working on how Steve Kerr feels about things. After all, while LeBron is legendary for his playing ability, he's infamous for how he's handled his coaches. LeBron has always felt himself a player coach and, as such, has gotten puppet coaches instilled in various teams in order to get what he feels was the best thing implemented. The only time this didn't happen was with Eric Spoelstra, in which he won 2 rings under him and the coach that he went up against in the finals during his 2nd year with the Lakers. Steve Kerr is going to the Hall of Fame as a coach, and he commands the respect of all his players. So, if LeBron was to come over, he'd need to be ready to listen to Kerr, because if not, he won't be welcome. Fantasy. While LeBron James has said he'd be up for playing with Curry and the Warriors, as Curry himself noted, it's very much a fantasy right now. And if the Warriors do come back and win the NBA title, their 2nd without a ringer, then that would very much prove they don't need to get LeBron or need KD in order to take multiple titles. They're honestly at full power right now between Curry, Thompson, and Green, and they have young players who are stepping up to help out and get them key victories. So, if they win it all, this trade will be very much a fantasy. So what do you think? What do you think of this look at LeBron James and his comments about Golden State and wanting to play with Steph Curry and crew? Do you think that this is him just talking, or do you think he'd really be up for playing with the Warriors in order to get one last title before his run is done? Would the Warriors even be willing to consider that given how they're playing? Let us know in the comments below, and we'll see you next time on the channel.